Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Time is now 7 o'clock. Welcome everybody to a special committee of the whole meeting. This is a Thursday, May 23rd. We are live streaming this, and of course it will be recorded. If anybody is online and watching this on just the stream and wishes to join us, you can join us through the Zoom app. You can, of course, also call in through the 1-855 number that's listed in the agenda and hit *9 when it's your turn to speak and to raise your hand, and we can let you in. As I call this meeting to order, we just acknowledge that we're doing our business on the traditional territories of the Coast and Strait Salish people. Specifically, we recognize the Lekwungen people known today as the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations, that their historic connections to these lands continue to this day. We have a very simple agenda tonight, but I need a motion to approve the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved and seconded. Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. That carries. I'm just looking on my screen here. There's 1, 2, 3. I'm only showing 4 councillors. There's Councillor Appleton as well. Thank you. I just didn't see that on the screen, so that's perfect. And I understand that Councillor Watson is unable to join us this evening, but is going to be able to watch the meeting at a later time. I don't have any mayor's remarks tonight. We just want to get straight to the business at hand. Well, I guess a brief remark. We have 21 total applications for the number of grants. Tonight, as a committee of the whole, we're not making decisions tonight. It's really just a chance to go through each of the applications, and if for those who are able to attend or interested in attending as applicants, gives council a chance to just ask questions, get some clarification, and then at the at the meeting next week, we'll be having to do the hard work of allocating the funds. And so just express my appreciation to everybody for being here. I'm going to just ask if there is anybody wishes to present, to keep those presentations to 3 minutes or less. That'll give us a chance to get out of here in a couple of hours or so. We're going through this in alphabetical order, and I'll just invite each group up. If for some reason you can't unmute or there's some issue, we'll just move on and come back. The intention here is to make sure everybody who is asking for grants has the opportunity to speak to us and answer questions. And lastly, I'll just say a little bit of an apology that this grant process is taking a much later date for approval than it usually does. Just a series of circumstances, primarily losing our former chief financial officer and deputy, and then having to do all of our year-end work with audits and so forth. Just this got pushed back. So next year, we're looking for a much earlier point in time so that people can have answers to their funding questions much earlier. So with that, we just have a single item agenda, which is a special meeting matters, the grant and aid application presentations. I don't think Mr. Payne is with us tonight. I'm just going to walk through these in order that I have them in alphabetical order. I understand that the Action Committee for People with Disabilities, Christine Paisley, is not attending tonight. They informed us they were not going to be attending in case they've changed their mind. I don't see them. So we'll move on to the Balfour's Friends Foundation. And I understand Stephanie Monkley is online and available. There, I see you there with your video turned on. It's always helpful if you turn your video on when you're speaking because it pops up my visible screen. And yeah, and so just welcome. Is there anything you wish to add? And again, I should reiterate, we've all read through and gone through in detail all of the applications. So there's no requirement to sort of reiterate, but if there's anything you wish to highlight or if there's anything's changed in the application, because we are coming to this quite late, we'd welcome that.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. I've set my timer, so 3 minutes. So Balfour's Friends Foundation, Balfour was my grandfather. I started this foundation in 2012, and I work as both a community physiotherapist and a paramedic. So I go into many people's homes, and I just saw the need. There was a gap in the system that people, sometimes their pet is the only living soul in their existence. And when it gets sick or injured, they have difficult decisions to make, either in some cases surrender or euthanize. And so what we do is we help low-income people with their veterinary costs. We help to subsidize the cost of their veterinary bills. We help a lot of people on disability pensions, and also a lot of seniors living on or below the poverty line. And I used to work as a physiotherapist in Oak Bay, and there's a lot of seniors that they may look from the outside quite well off in a nice home, but we have to remember that they bought that when things were a lot more affordable, and now they live either on OAS or CPP or a GIS. Some of these people are probably 21,000 or less a year, and their pet is sometimes the only member of their family or friends. So if the animal gets sick or injured, they've got, like I said before, a very tough decision to be made. And
Okay,
that's where we step in. So I welcome any questions.
perfect. I think your grant application was fairly straightforward, but I will turn to members of council if they have any clarifying questions.
Okay.
Councillor Braithwaite?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. Do you know how many people, I know that we gave you a little bit of a grant last year. Do you know how many people from Oak Bay that you managed to help last year with your organization?
We actually in Oak Bay, we don't have high numbers in Oak Bay. We helped two people last year from Oak Bay, and this year I don't have a count on how many we've helped this year actually. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Braithwaite. Councillor Smart?
Yeah, thank you. My question is just with regards to the time period in which the application happened to now. I just wondered if there were any updates on grants that you may have received already, or if you've applied for additional grants since the application was put in.
We've actually received a grant from the Peninsula Co-op as of yesterday, which was very exciting. I also wanted to add that our demand this year has gone up 108% since January 1st. So we're definitely in a place where we've never been before. We're struggling, but we received a very generous grant from the Peninsula Co-op yesterday, and we've also received a grant from the Saanich Peninsula Foundation, and we've put in grant applications. We were declined for First National, and I'm so sorry. I'm just drawing just a slight blank to. Oh, we received from a an anonymous donor within Victoria as well. We have received $750 recently.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Anything else, Councillor Smart?
No, thank you. That's fine.
thank you.
I don't see other questions at this time. Checking my notes. Because Councillor Watson's not here, she left me with a couple of notes as well. So I will.
Okay. I think there's a little hand down at green there.
Yeah, I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Green.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Monkley, for being here. Really appreciate it. Just a question. Are you dealing with any veterinarians in particular who are willing to, in essence, give you a break? I know that some of the veterinary clinics have been bought out by large American corporations in Victoria, and I just wondered if you were having any issues in that regard. And thank you very much.
That's an excellent question. And yes, there are veterinarian clinics within the CRD that do kind of meet us halfway on prices and also reduce their prices. Some of them also have compassionate funds that they allow their veterinarians to choose who they would like to donate that money to. So that's all very helpful. But unfortunately, you're right. Some of the the ones that were taken over by VCA, the American company, some of the prices just keep going up and up. It's sad at times because we give our limit has been $600 per person per year. And if you have two animals, we'll give 1,200, so 600 per animal. But sometimes the bill is $3,500, $4,000, depending if it's a dental procedure or orthopedic surgery. So, and we focus on emergent care as opposed to non-emergent care like spays and neuters. We do not assist with that. But unfortunately, sometimes the bills are just they're big. Yeah.
I really appreciate your honesty. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the question. It's a great question. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I sometimes have a hard time seeing
I'm
physical
so-
hands popping up.
I'm so
Go ahead.
sorry, Kevin. I just wanted to say that it can be heartbreaking at times because I get phone calls on a regular basis saying that if we're not able to help this pet, then they're going to euthanize the pet. And it's a fact, it's reality. And I know veterinarians are trying to run a business like any small business, but it's astounding just how high the prices are getting. So
It's true. Any of us with a pet have seen that happen.
absolutely.
All right. I don't want to. Sorry, I did not mean to miss your hand there, Councillor Green. Is there any other hands? And if you can use the hand tool in the app, it helps me because it pops me right to the top of my screen. There's a lot of things on the screen right now. So I don't see other hands. Ms. Monkley, I think you're free to go for the evening.
Okay, I really appreciate the time. Could I just tell one story that we had recently that really resonated?
Can you? Sure, but please make it quick because we do have another 20
Absolutely.
people to go through.
We just had somebody that was end stage congestive heart failure and she couldn't work, but chose to go back to work to clean houses because her cat was sick. So that's the kind of request we get. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. Yeah, have a great evening.
Take care.
Our next ask here we have is from the Canadian Heritage Arts Society, also known as Canadian Performers of the Canadian College of Performing Arts. And I believe we have Mr. Marshall here with us this evening. Is that correct? Or is there anybody here from the Canadian Heritage Arts Society? I don't have a confirmation that they were coming tonight. So they were a question mark at this point. I don't see any hands popping up or anybody speaking, so I'll move on to Capital Bike. Again, this was a maybe. They responded with a, if we can make it, we will. I think I see Ms. Tavis here. Yes, welcome.
Hi.
And you don't have to do a presentation. I probably shouldn't encourage that, but if there's anything you want to kind of highlight, I'd like us to get to questions as quickly as possible.
Fantastic. My name is Lana Taves. Thank you for inviting myself as a representative of Capital Bike to speak to our application for grant and aid. I'll just quickly touch on the highlights of our application. Myself, I'm the education manager with Capital Bike, but I wear two hats. I'm an instructor, so don't know a lot about all of the budgets and things, but if you have questions about the programs, the specifics that we're asking about, I can definitely fill in the blanks. So we do thank Oak Bay for their previous support of our programs. We are a nonprofit organization. You probably know us because you've been hearing about us. It's Almost Go by Bike Week next week. We have had support in the past for our education program for elementary schools, Everyone Rides Grade 4-5, which is a fabulous program. It's going strong. This year, we're requesting funding for a middle school program, which builds on the Everyone Rides Grade 4-5. It has more days of instruction, 4 instead of 2, and exciting. It includes as the last day a ride around the neighborhood. So students at that age, grade 6, they can see the values of active transportation. It's that those middle years, they get independence and skills, lifelong skills. We've got a letter of support from Principal McIntosh from Monterey, where we piloted the program last year. We're also requesting funds for 1 or 2 guided rides. Those are directed at adults or older youth. And what I'll say about those is it seems there's less interest in adults taking bike skills courses, not because they're not of value, but perhaps that's not how everybody wants to spend a Saturday or a Sunday of their time. But the guided rides are received really favorably. They're fun. They're extremely fun. And we sprinkle in a whole bunch of education, how to use the infrastructure, great routes, connecting communities, neighborhoods, hubs, destinations that people want to go to. They're 2 hours long, they're shorter. All the feedback I get is that they're really valuable. I won't say any more, but I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taves. That was excellent and under the 3 minutes. So thank you, Councillor Braithwaite, and then Councillor Smart.
Thank you so much. This actually might be more of a thank you first off for putting on such great programs for the youth in our community. I know that they're highly regarded and very enjoyable, so thank you for that. And I think this might be more of a question to staff, Mayor, in regards to, I know that our police department also puts on courses as well, and I'm wondering what the overlap is there, whether or not the police just go into the elementary school or do they also go into the middle school. So I'm not sure if anybody can answer that question now, but perhaps it's a question we can get answered in the future.
Thank you. I can probably answer part of that. I think it's one of the little casualties of the change in policy of the police school liaison officers. That was a program that was run by them, and I'm not entirely clear that it's being allowed to continue at this point. So even last year, though, when they did do them both, I think they were complementary, not they didn't conflict with each other. They were both sort of, again, helped raise the overall awareness and skill levels.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Councillor Smart.
Yes, thank you. My question is just with regards to capacity for the adult bike safety tours, because I imagine they potentially would be quite popular, and how what the outreach would be in order to capture those users.
Ms. Taves?
So thank you for your question, Councillor Smart. Are you asking, I'm trying to make sure I understand your question. Are you asking how we would advertise? You started out saying capacity, asking.
Yeah. Both advertise and how many could partake.
So we cap each ride at 18 participants for safety. We would have 2 instructors to go with that. How we advertise, I know that our social media and marketing folks at Capital Bike are extremely active, so we would certainly be using those channels. If I don't know if Oak Bay has a community newsletter, but
we do not. No,
you don't.
But we do have social media.
Yeah. In my experience, these rides do fill up, so I think that would probably be the main way. I mean, I could see doing old school and putting a poster up in rec centers if that would be of interest. In previous years, when we've had funding, we've actually made booklets, and I'm not sure if those were provided to rec centers, like little booklets that had information about the routes and a map of the route.
Okay. Councillor Smart, anything else?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? I just had one question, and that was, in previous years, we've had Bike to Work Week stations in front of the municipal hall. I know even we were talking about perhaps either continuing that or having it at the rec center, but we're not part of that program this year. Do you know if there's a rationale for not asking and having a station in front of the hall this year?
No, I'm afraid I'm actually not involved in that part of educating, advocating, and celebrating. I'm very much in the education aspect, but I will certainly take your question back to the people who can answer that.
I think we've found it very warmly received in past years, so I don't know what the why that shifted, but we don't typically reach out, but I think there'd be support for it if there was an ask in the future. So I'll just throw it out there for perhaps for next year.
I will put Oak Bay Municipal Hall at the top. Please accept my apologies for that oversight. I'm not sure what happened, but I will look into it, and I will ensure that we follow up with you and let you know what's up.
Sounds great. No, thank you for that. I don't mean to put you on the spot for that. I just sharing with you that that's I think it's we've had positive responses, and when we've been asked in the past, we have funded it. So so thank you. I don't see other hands, so I think, much like the previous speaker, Ms. Taves, you are welcome to leave for the evening and enjoy some of the nice weather we're still having. And we'll move on to the next applicant, which is the Capital Regional Food and Agricultural Initiative. So thank you. I don't actually have any indication whether or not Capital Regional Food and Agriculture Initiative Roundtable Society is speaking to us. I had Mirella Colagrande as this person who is coming. I don't see that name here. Give it a second to reach a hand up. Leave that then for the time being. We have Community Association of Oak Bay, and Heather Cochran is here as the president, and as I was just popped up on the screen. So welcome, Ms. Cochran.
Thank you very much. I also have with me online Bruce Kilpatrick, our vice president, and Bill Trotter, treasurer, just to address any questions that I might not be able to. We do have a very brief PowerPoint presentation for you if we're able to pull that up.
I think it's at, I'll just turn to staff. Oh, yeah. It's been shared here. So thank you for providing that. All right, go ahead.
Right. That's the Green Map presentation. There should be a Community Association of Oak Bay presentation as well. There we go.
No, here we go. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much. So if we could go to the next slide, as I think all of you know, the Community Association is a registered nonprofit society founded in 2008. We're also a founding member of Reconciliation Oak Bay and a partner in the Community Green Map Project, which you just got some foreshadowing of right there, and you'll be hearing from shortly. So pictured here is the Snow Eyes Welcome Pole at Oak Bay High School. The Community Association, along with the district and other partners, were instrumental in raising that in 2015, and we featured it briefly in our presentation here because we think it epitomizes the nature of our work in the community, which is spreading good energy. We're volunteer driven, and we work not for the benefit of our own members, but for the whole Oak Bay community. This year, we're thrilled to welcome several new directors to our board, including our first ever youth representatives. And we also engaged in an intensive strategic planning process that I just wanted to highlight because through that process, we adopted a mission to communicate, collaborate, and advocate with and for the Oak Bay community. With that mandate, the Oak Bay Talks that we've become known for hosting remain a mainstay of our work and are always open to the public and free to attend. They're focused on public issues, encourage community engagement, and promote quality of life. This year, we're seeking a grant of $3,000, the same amount as we've requested and been granted in the last 2 years. And we propose to use the entirety of that grant amount to host public events like those talks. So I just wanted to spend a few moments quickly walking you through the talks that we've hosted over the past several months. If we could go to the next slide, please. So last September, we were really thrilled to host all the way from New York City, Wendy Brar, who gave an excellent talk on mapping common ground, which is linked to the Green Map project, but one of the projects that are near and dear to our heart and a broader topic in the community. Next slide, please. We were really thrilled to have you all turn out, and you, Mr. Mayor, to be one of the speakers at our housing forum that we hosted last March, along with the Minister of Housing. This was one of our best ever attended events, and we were so thrilled to, be back to hosting these really large community events that pick up on very salient, obviously, areas of community interest since the COVID years when things were a little bit quieter for us. Next slide, please. We also hosted last March our AGM, which featured keynote speaker Kent Laforme, who's the Stakea sculptor. That was, again, a really well-attended event on a topic of interest to the community. Next slide, please. And most recently, we hosted a talk on helping to make Oak Bay a more dementia-friendly community, and we're thrilled to see several members of council at that one as well. So these events have been attended by hundreds of local residents in recent years, including nearly 300 who have shown their support for the Community Association through memberships and donations. Our costs for hosting these events include room rental fees, publicity, required insurance, materials and supplies, and the like. We're looking to grow these events over the coming months and also to grow our membership. including by hosting an all candidates forum in conjunction with the upcoming provincial general election and a slate of future talks that we're working on getting organized for the fall and spring. So this grant that we're seeking this evening would help us to serve the community in that way. So we thank you for your support in the past. We're pleased to answer any questions that you might have about our application.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Cochran. And 3 minutes and 4 seconds is well done for the timing. I think it included the setup time. Are there any, and that was, I think, a pretty thorough overview of what you're using the money for. Are there any questions for Ms. Cochran? Go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
Thanks very much, and thanks, Ms. Cochran, for the presentation and for the great talks that you guys have been putting on. I do have a question in regards to something that's coming up later on in the agenda, because I noticed that, and it's from the United Church, and I noticed that which is basically the Reconciliation Group. And I noticed that both you and another group that is asking us for money tonight is donating money to that organization. So I'm wondering if the money that we're giving you, if you're redirecting it to Reconciliation, and I'll be asking the same of the other organization that's doing that as well. So if you could just touch on that for me, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the question. The short answer is no, we will not be redirecting funds that we receive in respect of this grant to that project. We're contributing those funds. We think our responsibility as a founding member of the Reconciliation Oak Bay Network and as a worthy cause in the community. We do have other funding sources. The other funding source really is donations and memberships that we get. So the funds that we raise through those, we felt we're in a position to be able to direct some of those funds to that cause. But the entirety of the grant funds that we're seeking would be used just for hosting talks. And that includes, as I mentioned, insurance, etc.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Braithwaite. Councillor Patterson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and through you to Ms. Cochran. Thank you very much for your work on behalf of the community, to you and all of the other board of the Community Association of Oak Bay. Could you just give me an update on what your membership is today in the association?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a good question. I'll just back up with a bit of context. Our membership is annual and it's based on the calendar year. So every January we start at 0, and then we tend to build those memberships up from signing people up at talks that we host or at events like Camas Day, the Bowker Creek Brush Up, night markets, etc. So we're at still kind of the beginning phase of rebuilding our membership for the year, but we're sitting at around 75 or 80, which is actually really high for us this time of year. So we're thrilled by that. But I also want to highlight that we've got a kind of network or email distribution list in terms of people who've signed up to receive our emails and newsletters of close to 300 names. So those aren't all paid up members, but they're people that we kind of include within our network because they've signed up to receive our news.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Any other questions? Just making sure. Nope. I think you answered all the questions I had in your presentation, Ms. Cochran. So not seeing any other hands. Thank you to you and the rest of the team. Thank you for coming out tonight. And I think we can let you go and enjoy your evening again.
All right. Thanks very much.
All right. Take care. We move on now to the Green Map project, which is a Community Association of Oak Bay sponsored. We have Maeve Leiden here with us. I think I saw that. Yes, there we are.
Hi. Yeah, I'm going to use, I realized I'd sent you too many slides, so I've shortened the PowerPoint. So Riley has let me, I think I'm going to share the screen. Is that okay, Riley? I think we're good to do that. Let me see. Slideshow. Can you see it now?
No.
Okay. Maybe Riley, I can share this. You can share screen with me. Yeah.
I'll turn to the staff here if
Sure.
there's any. You got it now?
Yeah. Riley, you got that?
There we go.
Okay. So there we are. Slideshow. Okay. So you guys good with that one? Can you see? Is it?
Yep, we can see it now.
Do you have the side of this thing at the side? No. Just that. Okay. So I'm here tonight just to talk about the application we have to create an interactive community green map platform and more engagement around green map. Many of you have been very well aware that we created the first print green map about 13 years ago. And that was a 5-year process. And the community council, the Oak Bay Council, gave $15,000 for that. We had about a $40,000 budget, took 5 years. And out of that came the Community Association of Oak Bay. We are part of the International Green Map System. And I'm just going to show a few slides which show what that's about. So some of you, and maybe you can look at it, look at the website. It's an excellent website. So it started in New York. It's around the world. It's been going for about 30 years now. Victoria and the British Columbia and the Common Ground kind of UVic system we created has created about 15 different neighborhood and community maps. And Oak Bay has been one of them. Very well known one because it was such a beautiful print map that was made. So these are just examples around the world. And I just invite you, it's really fun, their website, greenmap.org. We're a core partner and I'm on their international advisory. So look up all the stories from around cities and places in the world about what people are doing using mapping. We produced the book called Mapping Our Common Ground on the left. And now, since that was done, there's so much more online and open source resources. And that's what the new Community Green Map platform that we've just launching now. And we're asking for additional investment in. It'll be an open source interactive green map. These are icons. You can look those up. It's super cool. Quite a lot of the icons have been locally sourced, and you'll find on the Green Map website, quite a few were actually made in Victoria, the West Coast. We've had a lot to do with the evolution and development of place-based icons from around the world, and they're super interesting. They're very much involved in kind of climate action, in multi-sector engagement in society. What I think is super exciting for the Oak Bay Council is that many municipalities around the world are using this system because it's connected and it actually really focuses on public engagement. There are so many ways you can adapt it for creative purposes, and that's what we hope to do in our next phase that we think will last at least a couple of years. We can make artistic displays. It's all about what we love about place, what we want to see changed. And there's beautiful examples of exhibits and things that have been done in New York, which is the base for the Green Map system. But Port Townsend has just done a fantastic job of focusing on food security. Vancouver and other groups have done other things. These are just examples of an example, which we're going to be doing too, is what we're going to be doing with our platform here is asking Oak Bay residents and then others who work and play in Oak Bay to add local sites that are related to community heritage or nature are basically it. But it's quite exciting. And Glasgow is an example of a group that did really extensive work. Because I think they hosted one of the big, the big climate change conference. So that's a very interesting example of what can be done with green mapping. The next two slides are just quickly about what UVic's doing. So UVic would be a major partner with an investment from the Oak Bay Council. And there's a co-op program there that could give us an additional like 75% if we put a quarter of the funds in. And they've done really exciting work. And you look up an example of UVic GIS students making maps, interactive maps in this region using different themes. And I'm really excited about that because I think it's really good to have students involved, and as it will be to get high schools involved.
We're just kind of running short on time here.
Sure,
Is it possible just to kind of just highlight the
right here,
sort of the financial ask of your and what it'll be used for?
Yeah, and this, sorry about that, and this one, this brochure or this PDF, you guys can look at that as well about where we're at right now with our platform. The ask basically is this is it here. We're asking Oak Bay Council for $12,000 as a core funder of this initiative. And we have secured a significant in-kind leadership from the following groups there. Reconcile Action Oak Bay, Public Library, Belcourt Creek, different groups, they're all listed there. And I think that what we're trying to get at is that Oak Bay would be the first interactive green map in the whole region. And I just welcome any questions right now, and also look up what we've been able to do to date with funds you gave 2 years ago. You gave $5,000 2 years ago. Sorry about that. I thought I was on time.
A few minutes goes by very quickly.
I know. Sorry about that.
I think we're lagging a bit in
the slides right now. Yeah, you take away the slides.
I'll go to questions from
Sure,
members of council because I think we
Sure.
probably had this the least amount of time. So go ahead. Any questions we have from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Smart.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just have a question about, I guess, timeline. If both of you get fully funded or partially funded from the municipality, how would that impact the timeline, and what does that timeline look like as far as when it would really be online and available to others?
Did you say both of you? Did you mean both of you? I didn't understand what you meant by both of you. You both get. You
Sorry,
mean if,
like if this project was fully funded to your ask versus if it was partially funded, I just wondered what impact.
Oh, no, I
might
understand
have.
that. No, the online, it's ready to go, and we want to launch it with some additional investment, be able to populate it. So those mock-ups that we showed in the PDF, and I can send in digital information, that is ready to go with the new COAB website. So it's ready to go, and we'd be able to work on it. We'd rather it like a partnership with the Oak Bay Council and staff. That's how we did it last time. Because you guys provided some base data, et cetera. So we'll be able to go with whatever you think, and we really welcome staff involvement. And yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right, is there anything else, Councillor Smart? Is that?
No, not for me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patterson and then Braithwaite.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and through you, just to our guest on with once this is developed, what do you estimate the ongoing annual expenses will be to maintain this?
I think we should really be thinking about the donors in the business community and tourism, and have an ongoing that's what a lot of the maps do. They have a self kind of funding system because it's a promotional tool too for the community and a sustainability tool. But I think just to maintain it, I think it should be an ongoing partnership with UVic and probably the high school, and a core partnership with the council. So our kind of idea is how do we, within 2 years, hand over some of the functionality to Oak Bay municipality, and then create a self-sustaining system. And it has been done in many cities and many places. I think we can do that. That will be our goal. But we just need to get it to the next step and get pretty, good expertise from students and others to make this really shine. And again, it's a partnership we're really looking for with the council and the Oak Bay municipality. So,
Mayor, if I could just
please do.
Just to clarify that, then do we expect that some of these costs then will be ongoing annually, and may even grow over time, but that they will perhaps generate revenue within the community that will help offset some of that, and so that it's supported by businesses?
Yeah, I think that this is probably you can quote me on it if you want. I think it's probably the last time we're going to come to council to get this off the ground, and then it has to be self-sustained. It should be, and I think it'll attract a lot of interest, and it can also at a regional level. I didn't go after regional foundations at this point. I have done that. I've created many projects in the Victoria area, but I think we just want to get it to this level so it's really well integrated in this neighborhood. And I welcome ideas, especially from tourism and private businesses, especially if they can be promoted on the platform as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate those comments from our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braithwaite.
Thanks so much. This is actually more to staff. I think that this is, I'm assuming that this was a late application because I didn't see it in the original go around. But I am looking at the spreadsheet that staff gave out, and it looks like they have the ask down as $5,250 as the 2024 request. So I'm just thinking that we should change that on the spreadsheet that we have, because I believe I just heard the speaker say that they're asking for $12,000.
Yeah, Ms. Lydon, can you just be as clear as possible as to what your ask is for this year?
I think our proposal got lost. Riley found it yesterday. It was already $5,250 was 2 years ago. That was our other proposal. I just hope you have the right proposal now. Maybe you have 2 years ago proposal. This is a 2024 proposal. 12,000. Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll get you to just maybe resend exactly what it is that you have to Riley, and we'll just get that sent around by email to all the members of council after this meeting. That's fine.
Yeah, I did yesterday, but I'll send it again. I think you got it. Yeah.
Sorry, Mayor. I think it's actually the correct application is online, but the spreadsheet that we were sent out as council has the incorrect amount in it.
Okay, perfect. So, and
Okay.
the correct ask is 12,000. That is correct, Ms. Leiden?
Mhm.
Perfect. Anything else, Councillor Braithwaite? Okay, thank you. No, I appreciate that this is, as it kind of showed up a little late, and I appreciate it's not your fault. Just I think
Right.
it's a little bit more clarification here.
All doing the best we can.
Um,
Yeah.
the with that application, so at the end of you're talking, I just want clear in your mind, the timeline is within if this funding goes through by the end of sort of end of 2025, this community map project will be up, live, running. This is a digital project, not a paper map this go around. Is that correct? And
The platform's ready, but we just wanted to launch it knowing that there's additional investment to start populating it and really, and so we have the base ready
Okay.
to go using some of the stuff I sent in the PDF. But
right. Okay.
we
So
can
can
go
I just
back and forth about that.
thank you. So can you just, for my clarification, how does that money fund the population? Is that funding like individuals' time to do that work? Is it? I'm just curious about how that money actually is. It paying for the platform?
Yeah.
What is the?
Some is coordination. I think a few thousand coordination. Quite a bit of it would be to match student involvement, like UVic and community mapping kind of expertise. Others for artists, Indigenous and local artists. It's really been an important part of the work that you've seen the beautiful print map, that a lot of artistic involvement, and then some honoraria. It's kind of a breakdown of the budget.
Great.
And we're matching that with significant in-kind. I mean, it's a big promotional tool for local environmental and cultural and heritage groups too. And we're really trying to align it really well with the whole place names and affirming local, not just Indigenous culture, but other immigrant cultures and cultures of Oak Bay. That's a really important piece of it. Yeah.
Great. All right. I don't see other hands popping up, so last chance to ask questions. I don't see any, so I think I can wish you a pleasant evening as well, Ms. Leiden, and thank you so much for coming and answering all these questions in the presentation.
I really
it's very
appreciate
helpful.
And I think it'll be fun, no matter how big the project is. It'll be really fun for councils to be connecting with other cities. It's really fun. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have the Community Social Planning Council. Dr. Shelley Cook is not able to make it. Just asked us to read a little bit of a comment in. Just wanting to share an important statistic with council in the hope that it will inform the discussion tonight with the Greater Victoria Rent Bank. CSPC has requested $3,000 in loan capital from Oak Bay. They just wanted to share with us that last year CSPC had 28 applications for loans from households in Oak Bay. Loans were approved to 7 of those households, which impacted 16 people. The loans provided totaled $1,104 for rental arrears and $415 in utility costs, so just a little over $1,500 in total. But I think the numbers are wrong. I think it was 11,000 and change for rental arrears and 415 in utility costs, because it's total $11,459 in funds directly benefiting Oak Bay residents. Additionally, these households also receive support via referrals and information to other supports and services. Thank you and best of luck tonight from Shelley Cook. So that's just the very brief presentation for the Community Social Planning Council, but not available here to take questions. I don't imagine staff is able to, but are there any questions of council for staff or clarifications at this time? Don't see any, so that's good. Move on to the Living Edge ask, and I had Sharon Klein as a contact, but they were not clear if they were able to make it tonight. So I'm just gonna turn to online speakers. Anybody here from the Living Edge? This is the community food exchange at UVic. Not seeing any, so I will go then to the Maritime Museum of BC. I have Brittany Viz. Again, they were not able to confirm whether they could come tonight, so it is totally fine for people not to be here. By the way, I just want to let that stand. There's often the application should speak for themselves, but this gives us a chance to ask the questions. So I'm not seeing any. We'll move then to, I see Ms. Alva's here from Martlet Publishing. This is the second year for us with Martlet Publishing, and we have the application. Ms. Alva, did you wish to provide a brief overview or?
Yeah, I can totally do that. I did also provide some slides if we want to go ahead with that. If not, that's totally fine. If if we're behind a little bit, no worries there.
We're not behind. I just wanted to, that's great. So the staff have the slides available to put up on screen? There we go.
Awesome.
Well, welcome. Nice to have you here.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be given the opportunity to present this grant proposal. My name's Anna. I'm the operations manager at the Martlet. Yeah, so let's get into it. Next slide, please. So the Martlet is a registered nonprofit that has been UVic's source of independent news since 1948. The Martlet is considered independent because it's not under the control of an outside entity, not the university, and not the UVic Student Society. This means that we can cover issues and events that affect the local community without undue bias in favor of one of these governing bodies, unlike most UVic publications. As an organization, we seek to act as an agent of constructive social change, working to entrench civil, land, and human rights for all people and eliminate oppressive social barriers, including those based on political beliefs, sex, religion, race, color, ethnic group, sexual preference, etc. And we also work to support other groups who apply these principles in their entirety. The Martlet is also a well-known launchpad for journalism careers. Martlet alum have gone on to write for the New York Times, the Globe and Mail, the Tyee, CBC, Toronto Star, and many more reputable news outlets. Next slide, please. So this is a poorly photoshopped picture of our team. So the Martlet is governed by a volunteer board of directors. Our staff team is composed of UVic students and some recent grads who work together to publish bi-weekly copy. We also have a pretty comprehensive volunteer program where all students are welcome to contribute to the paper through writing, editing, photography, or graphic design initiatives. Everyone on our team, whether that be paid staff or volunteers, really believe in the importance of student journalism and are passionate about the Martlet itself. Next slide, please. So on to the proposal. So last year, we were lucky enough to receive this grant funding, which we used to fund a special issue of our paper about the climate crisis. The grant helped us cover the cost of printing, an enhanced distribution route to the community, honorariums for contributing writers and artists, and an outreach event on campus that we dubbed the Fill Your Cup event, where we provided coffee for people to fill their reusable cups with while they learned about the issue's contents and spoke to the writers and editors. The project really helped the community identify and connect with the ways in which the climate crisis impacts our well-being on a systemic as well as individual level. The currently requested funds will be used in the same way as last year. We hope to be able to make the climate issue and the Fill Your Cup event into an annual thing that the community can really look forward to. Next slide, please. So at the Martlet, we really understand the natural environment and cultural scene that Oak Bay values simply because we're an integral part of it. While of course the Fill Your Cup event was beneficial in that we provided free coffee to the community, and who doesn't love that, but on a deeper level, the Climate Issue Project is a way to engage with and educate local residents by mobilizing knowledge about conservation and the land we all live on. A connection between the Oak Bay community and our paper builds recognition of our joint stewardship of this area, creating a healthier community. Without this grant, the Martlet will not be able to bring this initiative to its full potential. We operate with an incredibly tight budget, so without the help of the Oak Bay community, the reach and impact of this project will be dramatically smaller. Next slide, please. So that's it, very brief. Thank you all so much for listening to this brief presentation, and importantly, thank you to the Oak Bay Grant and Aid for making the Climate Issue Project a possibility last year. We really hope to be able to do so again. The Martlet is so important to so many people, and we cannot thank you enough for your support. Oh, I think you're muted, Kevin.
I am muted. Thank you. Any questions of members of council to the to Ms. Alba? Just I have a Councillor Smart, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm just wondering if this goes ahead again this year, if there's opportunities to either engage council in the event or the community into. I'd love to hear more about. I guess I didn't have a chance to see the issue or hear that much about the event, and I'm just wondering if that's a possible part of if it goes ahead again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be really great to be able to engage the community as well as like spread awareness through the council. I think that would really help with um, turnout and engagement for the event itself. Um, yeah, that's something that we would definitely be super interested in and would love to do.
Great. Thank you. I do think, yeah, we would love to get a copy of that, at least one copy
Absolutely.
each of the Martlet. That'd be great.
Yeah.
The other question I just had for you was, I guess, a twofold. One, I know that I think way back in 2018 there was a climate edition that came out, a little bit smaller scale at that time. And looking forward, we don't typically kind of fund at year over year over year things. So I'm curious if this grant is given, if that, I think last year was a bit of a proof of concept that like, can we do a larger run, and is there an uptake for it? If this is funded another year, would that be used to kind of go out there and say, okay, we got the special edition, and then go out and maybe seek some advertising or other funders that might sort of help make this sort of a viable ongoing concern and self-sustaining?
Absolutely, yeah. So the funding really was for an enhanced distribution as well as the event itself. We do print and distribute um, one print issue every month, and then we publish once a month online only. So the grant funding helps us with the enhanced distribution, as well as funding honorariums for the contributing writers, which is something that we're not typically able to do. We can't pay volunteers for submissions. So it allowed us to do that, which really increased the engagement within the student community as well, and could be something that could help engage the community further as well. So yeah, that's kind of what the funding was used for in terms of like this special edition of the climate issue versus like climate issues that have been put out in the past.
Great. And is there an opportunity here, if this is funded this year, for that sort of increased distribution to result in additional funding through other sources in time? I just sharing with you, we typically don't, keep funding year over year over year in perpetuity. So just curious if there's a roadmap here to that increased distribution resulting in an increased revenue that could help fund it going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I'd have to look into a little bit more in terms of like what the increased volume of distribution does for like potential ad clients. There has been, just off the top of my head, an incredible uptick in ad sales since November with the publication of the climate issue. Yeah, it's not something I really considered that was related, but our ad revenue is making a huge comeback, especially post COVID. So it is a project that could, in an ideal world, we would love to have it be self-sustaining.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands, just giving a chance to scan the screens. No, I think we're able to let you go for the evening. Thank you so much for being here with us.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, fantastic. The next one up is the Need to Suicide Prevention line, and that is, I have a note there from them as well. They're just with their apologies for not being able to attend. So they just wrote, thank you for the option to provide a written statement to read on their behalf. Need to Suicide Prevention Education and Support has the unenviable task of continually talking about an issue loaded with stigma and silence, suicide. Need to works every day to prevent deaths by suicide through our online presence, education, and support programming. An important aspect of this initiative is Need to's in-school suicide prevention program. Need to has been providing suicide prevention workshops in schools across Greater Victoria for over 20 years, forming a trusting relationship with school staff and administrators. In the past few years, inflation has significantly increased the cost of all operations, including the important work we do in schools. To date, Need to has always provided schools the opportunity to utilize a scaled payment system for our services, never allowing insufficient funding to impede on students receiving our important and life-saving programming. We are reaching out to Oak Bay to request a grant of $2,000 to help subsidize the costs of running the workshops within the schools across Oak Bay so that Need to can continue to provide flexibility and costs for workshops for schools. Thank you for your consideration for funding our important work. Sabrina Studney, Executive Director. So that's the presentation portion of the piece. We don't have an opportunity for questions unless there's any questions that members of council have for staff. I might just share here a little bit of history before we move on, in that this was originally funded as a suicide prevention hotline, which has now been taken over as a different agency. So we provided funding back when it was a suicide prevention hotline. With that being taken over, I think it was Highland Health actually took it over as a core service. Need2 has pivoted and has moved to this to really an education and awareness in school program to help, I guess, get out in front of crises to try and provide some of those education. So, Councillor Green.
Yeah, if I can just make one comment, they do incredibly invaluable work. I've always believed that, and this has becoming a growing problem in our community. So that's all I have to say. But the fact that they're not here is not, it's not an issue for me. And I really appreciate your sharing that written statement. Thank you.
Yeah, they just simply couldn't. The people who were able to answer the questions weren't available tonight, so they just passed that on. Okay, moving on to Newcomb Singers. I have Catherine Whitney. We didn't get confirmation of whether they were able to attend tonight. I don't think they are, but I will just ask if anybody representation from Newcomb Singers are here. Not seeing any, so I'll move on to the Oak Bay
Mayor,
Business.
sorry.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the updated spreadsheet that we have, and I don't actually see Newcomb Singers on there. Oh, they're at the very bottom. It's called the Newcomb Singers. I see. Okay, thank you.
No worries. Thank you. I have up next Oak Bay Business Improvement Association. Ms. Leary, a familiar face for us. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. I do have a short PowerPoint which I can share or staff can share. It's very short. I think you're familiar with our Music in the Village program. So I don't know if we're...
Yeah, no, I think we can bring it up here on the screen.
I think actually I can share it if you like.
If you have the power, feel free to do so. I'm not sure.
I practiced earlier today.
Okay, so. Perfect.
Okay, sorry. I am at the end. I didn't practice everything, obviously. So thank you very much for allowing me to come. And it's nice to see everyone. Hello to Mayor Council and staff. And thank you for all that you do. Every time I come to these, I realize there's a lot going on in our community outside of what we're doing. So as I think you're aware, Music in the Village is our street side music event. We bring a variety of music to Oak Bay Village through the summer, through July and August, on Friday and Saturday afternoons. We started the program in 2021. It was in response to some sort of rogue busking, antisocial behaviors that were happening on the avenue. And the solution was to working with you to provide street side music that would activate the space and make it welcoming, and also provide employment for some of our local musicians. We hired 20 musicians over the summer last year. We put them in 9 locations spread through the 3 commercial blocks. So every block had music over some time through the summer, resulted in 23 unique 2-hour performances. Those could be 1, 2, 3, or 4 musicians occasionally. So a number of people that were in the village providing music over that time frame. We do ask that they adhere to a very simple code of conduct, so that their interactions with the public are respectful, and that they don't repeat any music within a 2-hour set just because, especially if you're not maybe a fan of that style of music, it's helpful for the businesses that they, that's a problem that they had downtown, so we took some of the lead from them. In this instance, we have musicians supporting our Lazy Citizens did a vintage fair, so supporting business and business activities, so directly benefiting them, providing an ambiance and working in coordination with our businesses to help them. The musicians helped to establish a sense of place in the village and a sense of ambiance. It brought additional vibrancy to the village without any parking or traffic impacts. We're trying to not look at doing more road closures than we're currently doing, just to animate the space within the course of business during the business day. Very important to us. So we see people enjoying. We often drew small crowds, never blocking the sidewalk, but enough to create a sense of excitement about things going on in the village. We hosted them on the Otavio patio. Anytime power was required, it was provided by local businesses, not by the municipality. I would also mention that this is the last year that we will be making this request. Our mandate renewal begins now. We start a new series of 5 years next year. So we will be budgeting for this program in that new budget system. So just to mentioning that what does Music in the Village do? Brings vibrancy to the village without parking or traffic disruption, discourages antisocial behavior such as aggressive busking, supports our local musicians, young right through to retired, and also supports Oak Bay's goal to be a vibrant arts and culture hub. So that is it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Leary. Well done. Are there any questions? Oh, I have two. Go ahead, Councillor Smart, and then Braithwaite.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to ask how you decide on which musicians to hire, and do you actively look for employing youth, local musicians, or musicians with diversity?
Ms. Leary.
So we haven't implemented what I would call a diversity campaign, which would take an extensive sort of research on our part. We will employ anyone who applies that meets the basic criteria, which is the music quality is good enough and that they are available during the summer in the afternoons. So we employ youth, and I will say that this year the applications are more diverse than even last year. We have more musicians that have applied, so we're seeing more and more diversity as the word gets out and it's shared in the musician community. So we're certainly seeing more of that. I wouldn't say I've actively looked for those communities, but we do share that it's a fully welcoming space. We try and make it available to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Leary. Anything else, Councillor Smart?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mayor, I just had one other question. Hearing how many musicians you hire and the length of time, I'm just wondering, are you able to pay the musicians a living wage with the ask that you're asking for? I see that you are obviously getting funding partially through other sources.
Ms. Leary?
What is, I think I believe we're paying more than the living wage, but not the union scale. So if that makes sense. So we pay the musicians $60 an hour per musician, which is fairly reasonable. It maybe wouldn't be what you'd make in an arena show, but people seem quite happy with that. So, and that's regardless of age and experience, it's a flat rate. So no, the grant doesn't cover all of the fees for that, but all of the money that grant does pay for that, and then we cover the rest and top it up. So.
Thank you, Ms. Leary. Anything else, Councillor Smart?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
Councillor Braithwaite.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the presentation, Ms. Leary. I just wanted to pass along that I think that everything that I've heard about this program and everything that I've seen about this program has been very accepted within the community. The diversity of the type of music that is played along the avenue is great, and I think you try and fit it in with everybody else, everybody's different tastes, and so from the people that I've talked to, I just wanted to pass along their appreciation for the work that you've done on this program. I think it really does add vitality and vibrancy to the avenue throughout the summer. So thank you very much. I don't have any other questions other than that.
Okay, thank you. Not really a question technically, but well said. All right, with that, Ms. Leary, I think we can let you go. Have a great evening.
I think, did Corinne have a question?
Oh, sorry. I'm looking for the little digital hands, not the biological hands.
You're missing me tonight. And I don't have a question. I just want to add to Councillor Braithwaite's remarks that what this actually does, and we talk a lot about animating spaces, this animates the village. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I can let you go, I think.
Okay.
Looking carefully across the screen.
Yes,
back to planning the spring nosh.
Right.
So thank you. Again, I don't think they were attending tonight. Their application is fairly consistent. That it was the Oak Bay Heritage Foundation, but I want to just give it an opportunity if they did attend, if they wanted to add anything, they could do so or answer questions. I don't see any. Then I move to the Oak Bay Lawn Bowling Club. Again, I'm not, in my notes, I'm not clear whether or not they're able to attend tonight. do not see anybody from there. So by all means, I'll come back and just read out the list of people at the end just to make sure that we don't. Go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm just looking at the file, and it says that it was redacted. The file was redacted. Is that not correct?
Redacted just means that the personal information has been removed from it. They're all
Oh,
redacted.
I thought they meant that it had been taken away altogether. Sorry.
No, I don't believe so. I believe it's still active.
Okay. I will say that when I was at the Oak Bay Lawn Bowling the other day, they did point out the area where they were looking for the money to go, which I believe is for around windows. So, and they did look like they were in very bad shape.
Okay, I think they're maybe helpful to have them. I had a question for them, and maybe it's worth actually worth asking, because the spreadsheet originally at least said replacement of outdoor lighting and club equipment, but their application form spoke of washroom upgrades. So neither of those is windows. So I'm not clear on where that ask is.
Yeah, and I think it was last year. I believe that we gave them $4,500 towards the lights, and they did point those out. Yeah, so it definitely can't be light. So I'm not sure what's happened with their application. So I think reaching out to them would be
their
good.
application, just for clarity, asks for upgrades to their washrooms. So I think if I might just make a request of staff, can we just get clarification from them of just confirmation from Oak Bay Lawn Bowling? Just reach out to them and just confirm what their ask is for, just that their application form is accurate, that it's in fact the washrooms. I'll just leave that there. Councillor Appleton, did I see your hand pop up on that?
Just to ask the exact question you just did, Your Worship.
Okay.
Basically, I was looking for clarification because I think that there's, based on I won't reiterate, but there seems to be some confusion in numbers there, yes.
Okay, perfect. I don't see Mr. Smith here, but just in case, Oak Bay Sea Rescue, is there anybody here from Oak Bay Sea Rescue that wishes to talk to council or answer questions? I don't see any for that. So then moving on, Oak Bay Tea Party is not attending. Oak Bay Volunteer Services just sent a note, and I'll read it, although it's part of our, like the Tea Party, part of a regular funding piece outside of this process. I think, yeah, I'll just say it here because it's here. 47th year, Oak Bay Volunteer Services continues to grow within our community, serving hundreds of Oak Bay residents, providing over 7,000 hours of direct volunteer services in our last fiscal year, helping decrease isolation, increase connection, and help make independent living more accessible for all. Your funding is essential to the continuation of this vital work. In the year to come, we hope to answer the growing community calls for support with accessibility, social connections through the use of music, intergenerational mentorship, and knowledge sharing, and so much more. Please accept our heartfelt gratitude for your continued support and consideration. Kara Udell, who's the new Executive Director of Oak Bay Volunteer Services. And if you haven't met her, I'm sure you will soon, because she's quite actively out there making connections in the community. Okay, then I have moving on to Oak Bay United Church, which is applying on behalf of Reconciliation. I believe we have Felicity Stairs here with us tonight. There we are. I see you in the screen. Welcome.
Thank you. And I have with me Dan McCarthy. My voice has been a bit wonky recently, so if it gives out, he's here to take over. But we're here on behalf of the United Church, and we are requesting $1,200 to support the community conversation on truth and reconciliation, the project of the Reconciliation Oak Bay Network. As you know, the Reconciliation does not have any legal status, and so any funding has to come through one of our organizations. And our church was one of the founding members of the network in 2021 with St. Mary's Anglican Church and the Community Association of Oak Bay. And as you know, we now are up to 12 organizations, all of us committed to advancing reconciliation in Oak Bay. We know from talking with many residents that they share a hunger to find concrete ways to advance reconciliation in the community. And we know that Council has made reconciliation a strategic initiative. The community conversation is to encourage us to take steps together as a community It will gather 40 Oak Bay leaders from faith communities, community organizations, educational and business leaders, elected representatives, including, I am grateful to say, 3 from council, and others on May 25th. The event is facilitated by Chris Corrigan of Harvest Moon Consulting and Songi's knowledge keeper and cultural facilitator, Wellipton Bradley Dick. It will discuss what we as a community need to know about reconciliation, what we have to offer, and what we need to do to create and maintain momentum. The conversation will generate recommendations and identify people interested in leading specific projects. The facilitators will also help to produce a report, connect community project initiators, and assist in furthering the work. Since our application was submitted, we have continued fundraising, and so we have been able to reduce our grant request from $3,000, which was in the original request, to $1,200, shown in the revised budget that we submitted today. We've been gratified by the encouragement from council along the way. We appreciate the participation of council members and hope for your support in ensuring the success of this project, and look forward to working together with you to advance reconciliation in Oak Bay in the months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stairs. Are there any questions, members of council, for this grant? Go ahead, Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you. This is perhaps actually a question for you, Mayor, but I'm just wondering if potentially this event is occurring before the decision to potentially award funding to it, and if that is possible with our current policy of not offering retroactive fees.
Yeah, thank you for that, and certainly this is one that's been caught in that our delay. So I don't know how hard and fast the rules are if we are considering the application before the date, even if we don't get to a final decision before the date of the event. So I might just turn to staff, and then I'll come back to Ms. Stairs. Ms. Stairs, you can go first if you wish.
I was just going to say that while the conversation will take place on May 25th, there will be ongoing work by the facilitators, producing the report, doing the connecting with the people who have identified themselves as wanting to take the projects forward, and so on. So it's that part of it that we anticipate having the funding from council. We are hoping council will fund.
With that, Ms. Plouffe, I might turn to you on this one. Do you feel like that's sufficient given the policy that if the work is continuing past this date, that we could still consider this grant application?
Thank you, Mayor Murdoch. Given the circumstances, I do believe that this would still qualify under the policy, and just a reminder that it is council's policy. So if you felt at such time that you wanted to waive the policy, you could do so, but I do feel that the parameters are met.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Smart, for raising that question. Any other questions? Just checking my notes, because I'm busy here on all of these other pieces. Nope, I think my questions have all been answered in the presentation. Don't see other hands of council. Going to go to Miss Councillor Watson's. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of things simultaneously. Okay, and I think we've had answers already. Her question was around us funding, the community association funding reconciliation and doing that kind of around the piece. I guess the same question is asked of the Heritage Foundation, which is also a founding member and a funder of this, which we also fund. So I think we'll have to take that into consideration as we contemplate that, but that's not a question for you as much as it is for those other organizations. So thank you very much, Ms. Stairs. I don't see any other hands, so have a great evening, and we will move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
We are moving to Peninsula Streams, who is, I believe, here, Kyle Armstrong. Ms. Rio, there, I see you there. Welcome.
Thanks.
Is there anything you wish to say to us in terms of a presentation?
Yeah, is that okay? I didn't get my presentation in quite on time, but I've sent it in now. Is it okay if I do a quick share?
Yeah, as long as you're able to. The
there. How's that?
Yep, great. Just if you can make it full screen, and we'll go from there. I'll reset the timer here so that you have the full 3 minutes for the presentation.
Wonderful. Sorry, I just got to go back to the beginning here. I was going over there, but thanks for having me, Mayor and Council. Really appreciate the opportunity to present and share some of the work that we have going on, and on behalf of Peninsula Streams and Shorelines for this year's round of grant and aid from Oak Bay. Peninsula Streams and Shorelines, we're an environmental charity, NGO, about 20 years of history on the peninsula, and have since expanded down to Greater Victoria and beyond. We have 3 main pillars, including stewardship, environmental education, and ecological restoration. And we try really hard to use these pillars and integrate them and get people connected and back into their natural areas and learn about them and learn how to steward them. We have a pretty solid team. We've had a lot of growth in our organization. We have a team of biologists and stewardship and education professionals that really help to deliver these programmings. We have our largest number of members ever, probably projected numbers of over 400 members by the end of the year. So our highest number yet. And a really strong base of volunteers that come out and support our programs, and dedicated board of directors. In terms of stream restoration, this can vary in terms of large machine work down to just hand planting and removing invasive species and planting the riparian area. Working with many different partners, both government, non-government, and local NGOs, including the Friends of Bowker Creek and Sea Change Foundation. We also work to do shoreline restoration. Again, this can vary from large machine work down to kind of hands-on invasive species removal, riparian planting, marine riparian planting, and goose exclosures. So goose exclosures, so excluding the Canada geese that have hybridized and come over abundant and target our marine estuary systems. You're probably familiar with our shoreline monitoring program, where our volunteers collect forage fish eggs off the beaches to try to identify spawning habitat for these forage fish species that are obligate beach spawners. It's really important that we identify this habitat, as it's under threat from development, climate change, sea level rise, coastal squeeze, pollution, all sorts of things in upland development. So we basically take this data, we upload it to the Strait of Georgia database that's available through the Marine Catalog to any municipal planners to inform them when projects like seawalls or things like that are coming through the planning committees. They can use this as a tool to see if this is a habitat and use their development permits accordingly. On top of the forage fish eggs, we're also incorporating a number of other programming, including green crab, invasive green crab detections, eDNA, and then a number of other shoreline parameters to gauge the health and the effectiveness of our restoration on these sites. For forage fish sampling, since we started doing it in 2018, we've done over 1,000 samples. And the number of sites and beaches that we've identified for positive spawning habitat continues to grow. And this is becoming really valuable information, novel information for our region that is very important on a number of different levels of regulators and just general interest. It also gets people out on the shorelines, understanding these dynamics and habitats, and kind of reconnecting people to these places. We also have a Rain Gardens for Headwaters program, which has been very active in Oak Bay, including Monterey Middle School, Campus View, which is kind of right on the border, but certainly lots of folks from Oak Bay working on that, and Oak Bay Secondary School, where all of these sites we have demonstrations either currently built or are planning and doing them, as well as bringing out local stewardship groups to work on these. We also have it built in as an education module now. So we go to schools and talk about rain gardens and green stormwater infrastructure. And if there's a rain garden nearby or opportunity for one, we do like a planning exercise with the students where they develop and design their own rain garden. And hopefully we build it with them down the road.
Mr. Armstrong, this is all actually super interesting.
Am
I'll
I-
let you go for a
I-
little bit longer. No, it's okay. Just if you just kind of wrap it up in the next minute. that'd be
Okay, sounds
appreciated.
good. I think I'm almost done here. Our education coordination program has exploded. We've hired an education coordinator, and she's really modularized all of our education components. And there's just really wonderful feedback and integration throughout them, and making the interface really easy for teachers. So lots of schools within Oak Bay participating in some of these various components and programming. Our partnerships are huge: government, First Nations, ENGOs, community, academic, and corporations, bringing them all together around these projects and initiatives. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support in the past and hope Oak Bay can continue to support our work.
Thank you very much. And you talked very quickly and finished very nicely there, Mr. Armstrong. I might just, if we can close the presentation so I can see everybody's faces again, and I'll go to Councillor Braithwaite first.
Thanks so much. And thanks for the presentation. And I love to hear that you're being so involved with the schools. That's really wonderful. I do have a question in regards to your budget. I noticed that you get money, or you've asked for money from the town of Sydney and from Oak Bay as well, but that you do a lot of work in Saanich, and yet you haven't approached Saanich or Victoria for funds. Am I missing something in your financials, or is that something that you don't do or you might do in the future?
We currently are supported, I think, by 10 different municipalities financially through either grant and aid or as actual existing line items. So Sydney's made us a line item, Saanich has made us a line item and has contributed $25,000 to our programming this year, and a number of other municipalities as well. I'm not sure why that didn't show up. Maybe we hadn't secured it yet or confirmed it yet, but yeah, certainly.
Okay, because it is a balanced budget on here, so I'm not sure where that would come in. So interesting. Thank you.
I think it's potentially we left it out. Yeah, I'll have to take another look. I think we struggle in terms of showing a budget that represents the work that we do just in Oak Bay. And some of the programming is more supported by municipalities, certain municipalities, to meet that budget, if that makes sense. So we try to put together a budget trying to reflect what we do in Oak Bay, and pulling some of those matching sources, which also support it. So it's a bit of a science, I guess.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for your work.
Okay, Councillor Appleton.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong, for coming to the meeting. I suppose I'm going to go into the nerdy details as a former aquatic habitat guy. Just interested in sort of what the monitoring program for beach spawning species looks like on Oak Bay beaches. I did actually run into somebody who was doing survey work a couple of years back on Willows Beach, and just kind of interested in what the current state of play is for the monitoring program in and around Oak Bay.
I might just add to that, Mr. Armstrong, if you could just also articulate some of the value that brings to the community.
Yeah, so in terms of Oak Bay, it's that forage fish egg monitoring that I previously spoke to. So volunteers are working to collect samples across Oak Bay beaches and trying to identify if there's spawning habitats for forage fish. The value is that Oak Bay residents are being engaged and offered opportunities for training to learn about this, whether they continue on to kind of run their own kit and continue on sampling, or working the microscope or helping us deliver samples as volunteers is undetermined, as well as students, both from elementary, middle, to all the way to tertiary education level, are getting the opportunity to come down to Oak Bay beaches and learn about this. We also are adding other parameters, as I mentioned, including beach seines. So we do some beach seining with community members and folks to kind of show what different species are living in these ecosystems and shorelines. It benefits as well as it starts the conversation going in terms of, wow, I didn't know this was habitat for these different types of species. That's really interesting. All of a sudden, there's more vested interest in terms of protecting these areas or managing these areas that for wildlife and for ecosystems. These are important cultural areas, of course, the shorelines and beaches. So protecting the beaches for these species of forage fish that like a certain type of sand substrate is also protecting these beaches for people. So overdevelopment and overbuilding of seawalls below or at the natural barrier, particularly with sea level rise and increased storm surge, can lead to the loss of these sediments, putting these habitats at risk, but also putting these really important cultural areas that people enjoy at risk. So by engaging folks, teaching these different kind of learning points about these areas and investing interest, we are essentially protecting this really vital resource for the community.
Thank you for that. Anything else, Councillor Appleton? Okay, I don't have any questions. I don't see any questions from Councillor Watson. So I think any other hands or that any other additional questions from any members of council? I am not seeing any. I thought there was one other question that was on here. So give me a second. No, you talked about.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. There was just one additional piece here. Just in that you talked to the rain gardens, and what is BEACH? BEACH.
That's our beach education and conservation of habitat program. So that encompasses the education and shoreline work that we do.
And the green stormwater infrastructure that was sort of mentioned as sort of a more of a broader community piece. It's different from rain gardens, I understand.
Yeah, rain gardens is one tool within, or one type of green stormwater infrastructure, which is largely, a part of effective stormwater management planning and resilience to things like floods and things like that. So though we use rain gardens because it's this really wonderful tool that can be uptaken by community members and often isn't. So we try to put that tool in community members' hands, whether it's, building a rain garden on their own property or being able to identify locations and sites that exist in their neighborhoods, while kind of starting this overall conversation of what does effective stormwater management planning look like in our region.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other hands, so I guess I get to wish you a lovely evening, Mr. Armstrong, and thank you for all the work that you've done in our community.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. We move on next to St. Christopher's Montessori and Ms. Grant. Welcome.
Yay, we're on, yes. I just want to say thank you and good evening. I'm going to read what I wrote just because I could talk forever and I do have those 3 minutes. So say thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about our special community school, St. Christopher's Montessori. My name is Lisa Grant, or as I'm often known as, is Miss Lisa, and I'm the principal at St. Christopher's Montessori. I'm sure you all know where we're located on Curry Road, right next to Windsor Park and just up from the marina. We are a nonprofit Montessori school, and we have just celebrated our 45th anniversary of being St. Christopher's Montessori. And I just have to say what a magical day that was. First of all, it didn't rain, which was very important for us, but we had numerous people come out. We had alumni, we had former teachers, we had former principals, past and current parents and children. We had the very first principal of St. Christopher's Montessori come out, who's 91. And we had our lovely mayor out as well. So thank you for coming. Both his children came through St. Christopher's. So, and that was a very long time ago, it seems, for me. I'm honored and blessed to be part of St. Christopher's Montessori School, and I've been there now for 20 years. I had both my children go through St. Christopher's many, many years ago. I watched the world change and people change, and one of the steady, consistent things is just how important the community feeling is at St. Christopher's Montessori. And with these changing times, I realize how many families need to have both parents working now. And that is one thing that's always been lacking at St. Christopher's, is that we've only ever offered half-day programs for the 3- and 4-year-olds and full-day programs for our 5-year-olds. And it's something that parents have always wanted. So what we are wanting to do is open up the space at the Windsor Park Pavilion, and we are going to be starting that in September 2024. And this is going to provide full-day care for St. Christopher's families. So there'll be half day at what we're now calling our CASA program at Windsor Park, and the other half of the day at St. Christopher's. So we will be following the same Montessori philosophy that we have at St. Christopher's into our sort of daycare CASA program at the pavilion. The monies that we are asking for will be able to purchase new equipment, new materials, and be able to supply everything that we need for our new space. As well as we need to pay our teachers their salaries, their benefits, the rent of the pavilion, and of course, like our insurance costs and any other costs that we'll have to come and pay somehow. We want to provide this educational program by providing this full day care that families are in need of. So receiving this grant from Oak Bay would be truly the one way that we can achieve this goal. St. Christopher's is a very old building and is always in need of some type of repair. And right now we're scheduled to replace the flat roof on one of the classrooms, and the cost of that is $43,000, which we're going to have a hard time coming up with those funds, as we've had low enrollment for the past 3 years because of COVID. And in that, we have also lost some government funding because of our low enrollment. So it's difficult to do any type of repair, upkeep, or replace any materials at St. Christopher's, as well as not being able to provide enough for us to open up our CASA program. So that is, our grant money is crucial for us to be able to open up CASA, and we would love to be able to do this just for our families who now attend St. Christopher's and the families in the future as well. So we're hoping that the CASA program is going to be our pilot program next year, but hopefully we'll be able to continue running the CASA for many years, as I'm hoping we'll be able to continue running St. Christopher's for many, many years. So I'd like to thank everyone again for the opportunity to speak about St. Christopher's. I'm a very passionate Montessorian. I love my job. I love St. Christopher's. I love the community of Oak Bay. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to hopefully help out our new full-time program.
Thank you very much, Ms. Grant.
You're very welcome.
Are there questions from members? And I do have a question from, well, not really a question, but just an observation from Councillor Watson. So maybe I'll just go there first. It ties to sort of the budget ask, which is the ask that we have in front of us is $20,000. The budget, the summary budget that's there has Oak Bay rent, so for the Windsor Pavilion at $3,440, and materials and equipment at $1,200. Are those the total numbers for the required for the program to start it up and for the first year, or
well,
maybe just explain the difference between the
first year and I'm not the big budget girl at school. That would be our good friend, Miss Claudette. But we didn't really know, as this is the first time we've ever applied for anything like this, what to ask for. So we just sort of put a big number in. But anything that we would be able to receive from Oak Bay we'd be very grateful for, because there's lots of expenses. And, you know, we have to put money back into St. Christopher's while trying to open up this new program. So it's the space as tables, some chairs, and like the little cubbies, and everything else we'd have to provide for ourselves.
Right. Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Braithwaite, then Councillor Appleton.
Thank you so much. I was very sad to miss the 45th anniversary, Ms. Grant. My niece was there. My daughter actually attended St. Christopher's. So I saw a picture posted of Miss Jane, who was the principal there when my daughter was there. So a great program that you guys run. And I'm wondering, obviously, this my thought is that by you guys running a program like this, it would take some of the pressure off some of our programs that we run internally through as a municipality, that some students would be trying to sign up for, or some parents would be trying to get their children into those programs. So do you have any idea about how many people that might be that might take out of our system that would open up then spots for others within our community?
Well, next year we're just starting with 8 in the morning and 8 in the afternoon, so I'll have 16 children. And we're hoping the year after, because we're licensed for 16, that we'd have 16 in the morning and 16 in the afternoon. So we'd be having 32 students be able to use that. Because it's just our first year starting this, we just thought we'd just stick with what we have, because our problem then would be the space being licensed for only 16 children at one time, with 2 teachers, because it's a 8-to-1 ratio, because we'd be licensed as a daycare. We just need to have a space in the pavilion that we could provide lunch. So basically like a half an hour somewhere in the pavilion, that then we'd be able to offer the program to more children.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Braithwaite. Councillor Appleton.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. So I would really just like to pick up on sort of a comment that was made earlier. I think it was about Councillor Watson's comments, and it just, the ask is quite a bit larger than other asks being made this year, and we're going to have to make some tough decisions about sort of overall budget pieces. And as you noted earlier on, Your Worship, under a different component the grants are typically not for ongoing operating expenses. And so, I recognize the value of the program for the community. I guess I would just ask the question about how would the ask address the issue of, not funding ongoing costs and essentially scalability. Again, Ms. Grant made, I mentioned this is the first time they've applied. As most folks who apply have kind of encountered, council will try to balance off and may reduce the ask or select a number that fits in with the budget. So I know that it's a difficult thing to do sort of on the fly, but I'm kind of wondering in terms of scalability, what are some focused materials needs that might fit within the parameters of the budget that might represent a more modest ask from what was originally asked for?
Well, we need all new materials, and we are not going to be buying sort of like the Montessori work materials, such as, I don't know if anyone knows, like the Pink Tower. Those essential Montessori materials will stay for St. Christopher's, but what we'll need are, and because it's a Montessori program, we want to keep the same philosophy. So that means all wooden puzzles, all wooden trays, everything is in natural materials. So we're not running off to the dollar store and buying on the cheap. So the things that we will need will be things that are a little more costly than, say, we're not going to be heading out and going to Toys R Us and getting Lego. Everything that has to be ordered. And unfortunately, there's nothing local, so everything that we'd have to be getting. So basically, we need funds to start up our CASA program. And then once we're up and running and hopefully can increase our numbers next year, then it should be paying for itself. So it's basically an ask, and 3,000 to 5,000 would really help to, we have to buy a rug because kids sit on the floor for circle, et cetera, et cetera. So we basically just need right now startup money to be able to open up CASA with working materials and things that are all like we have there are tables and chairs. So all the materials that we would need, some shelving and some materials for those shelves.
Anything else, Councillor?
No, thank you, Worship.
Thank you. I'm just going to do one quick follow-up to that line of questioning, and that is just, there is an application in front of us here, and in that application, it lists materials and equipment at $1,200. I'm getting the impression that number is probably higher than that in terms of the overall.
If we wanted to go bare bones, we could do bare bones, but a carpet itself for large enough for the area for children to sit at circle is probably about 2,000. The materials itself might be 1,200 to 1,500, but we want to be able to provide a really nurturing environment for when we open up our doors in September. It's hard to kind of put a price on what we want to have for our CASA program, because we want it to reflect who we are as St. Christopher's, and St. Christopher's has been part of this community, as I said, for 45 years as a Montessori school. So I would like to be able to open the doors to a nurturing, beautiful environment. When we asked for money, I'm like, I don't know, what do you put down? Like, there was no sort of parameters, and I'm like, aim high. It's the more money we have, the more we can provide for the children and the families. So whatever that you are able to help us with we'd be very, very grateful for.
Thank you so much for that, Councillor Smart.
Well, thank you. Through you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to clarify again how many children potentially would be impacted by this program, and if it is scalable based on funding received. Could you just clarify that? Thank you.
We will start with 16 in total for next year, and hopefully the following year and years after would have 32 in total for every day, and we'd run the same school calendar year as St. Christopher's. And if anyone wants to come see St. Christopher's, we'd love you to stop by and do an observation, because I'm sure the mayor could tell you what a lovely environment that we provide for the children.
Thank you. There's a reason it's been around for 45 years, for sure.
There's a reason. We're the happy little magic bubble until reality of grade 1 hits.
Councillor Smart, anything else?
Yeah. Thank you. Could you clarify again that would this be new children above and beyond your existing children, or is this
It's current families of St. Christopher's, and if we were to open up to have more numbers, if we had our 60 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, and if we didn't, St. Christopher's families, it would be provided for the St. Christopher's families first, and if there was spaces open, then we could open it up for the community as well. And that's what I'm hoping we can do.
I think if I heard you correctly, Ms. Lisa or Ms. Grant, I'm not sure what I should call you here in this format. The current program for ages 3 and 4 is a half-day program, so people come for half a day. So what you're saying is that this program essentially allows you to turn that into a full-day program. So for parents who need full-day care, it would open up that opportunity for 8 in the morning, 16 in the first year, and 32 in ongoing years to extend the program from a half day to a full day. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, because our 5-year-olds already stay for the full day. But yeah, it's to make a full day program for the 3s and 4s.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Anything else, Councillor Smart?
That's everything. Thank you.
Okay. And your hand is still up, by the way, just so you can lower it. There we go. I'm looking at the small screens on my screen, and I don't see other hands. I think we have the information we need at this point. Thank you very much, Ms. Grant, for that presentation and for answering all of our questions.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Very good. Have a great evening.
All right. Thanks so much.
We have just a couple of things left, so thanks for everybody who's being patient at the end, because they're both, I might actually, sorry, my apologies here, because Councillor Braithwaite has to recuse herself for the Vancouver Island Film and Media Commission, so I'm just going to do the Victoria Sexual Assault Center first. So if I can maybe have Ms. Sands unmute. And again, if you wish, I know there was no presentation, as I understand, but if you wish to provide a verbal introduction, you're more than welcome to, or we can just get to questions.
Sure. I'm happy to provide a little bit of information about Victoria Sexual Assault, their grant application, and thank you so much for the opportunity that you're giving us to give a little bit more clarification. Thank you for the support that you've given to Victoria Sexual Assault Center in the past. It's really makes a big difference, especially to the survivors of sexual assault and their families and the community, because we're all affected by sexual assault. The grant that we're working with at this point covers our sexual assault response team and access line services and the clinic, which also includes some of the work with the clinic, but it's mostly the SART and access line, which provides 24-hour service to access for persons who have been recently or historically affected by sexual assault to be able to receive support in the healing process, and also support in dealing with when they go to the hospital, or when they're making reports to the police, if that's what they choose to do. I'm not sure if you know, but we have a clinic on site, which is the first of its kind in Canada and the only one on the West Coast currently. It makes a huge difference for survivors to be able to access the clinic that we have. And basically what this sexual assault response team does is that we have volunteers from the community that are trained and provide support to survivors. And they have the option of coming to the clinic, which provides free service, private service. It's safe. It eases the pressures of the emergency room, decreases wait time that they have to deal with, and it provides forensic and police services on site if the survivor wants that, and also provides a referral to other services. I want to say that one of the things that what we're asking from you. It provides volunteer training. We provide snacks, taxi service to and from the clinic to survivors. And it helps in the emergent immediate care so that survivors can become empowered towards a pathway of healing. I myself am a volunteer. My role at Victoria Sexual Assault Center, which I didn't mention, is I'm a resource development and communications manager, but I also volunteer on the sexual assault research response team. And the response that we've gotten for our volunteers and is outstanding at this point, so much so that I have a hard time finding time to volunteer because the coverage is so fantastic, especially among the college students, who it's really great because that age group seems to be some of the highest in terms of our survivors of sexual assault affected by it.
Thank you very much.
So, sorry?
Oh, I said thank you. Oh, sorry, you can continue. You're about 4 minutes in right now, so I just wanted to.
I'm actually completed, yes.
Okay. Sounded like you were done. I was maybe jumping the gun a bit there. Thank you so much for that overview, and certainly aware of much of the amazing work that you do. Councillor Green, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Sands, for being here tonight. Just a couple of questions, and I'm not sure you can answer them, but I just wanted to raise them. One was, if you had any idea of what percentage of your survivors come from Oak Bay, the community of Oak Bay. And secondly, what percentage of these cases are related also to domestic violence? And any comments are appreciated. Thank you.
Sure. So about 9% of persons who access our services are from the Oak Bay area. So that, I think that answers that question. And how many in terms of partner, is that what you said? Partner, domestic?
Yeah. If you have that information at hand.
I do. So partner or ex-partner is about 12%, relative 1%. I know that doesn't answer your question directly, but that's the statistic that I have right now.
No, that's order of magnitude. So go ahead, Councillor Green.
That's helpful, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Are there other hands? Any other questions? I just want to make some clarification with you, Ms. Sands. The application I'm looking at here has an ask for $5,000, I believe, and your report says grant received 45. Just our spreadsheet originally had an ask, I think, for 4,500. Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're asking for 5,000. That's the actual ask.
5,000. 45 might have been last year.
I think it was. Okay, good. And no, I don't think I have any other questions, and I don't see any other hands. I do appreciate you coming here today to be available for questions, and certainly thank you for all the great work that your organization does. I will say it's nice to see that the provincial funding is a little bit more solid than it was in past years. That's maybe that's a question for you. Is that committed funding at this point, or is it still essentially annual funding from the province?
You know, I really can't answer that question, but we have funding in so many different areas in this specific area. I think that it is committed funding, but I'm not 100% sure. I have to admit that I started in February, so I'm learning a lot.
No worries. Thank you very much. Yep, I don't see other hands. So thank you again for your time this evening. And well, it was only the second to last, so appreciate your time here. Have a good evening.
Yeah. Thank you for all you do too. Thank you.
And apologize, Mr. Heyman. Welcome. This is the Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission.
Actually, Mayor, I'll just take the opportunity to recuse myself from this, as I do sit on the board of the Vancouver Island South and Film Commission. So I will recuse myself and I will leave the meeting, and thank you, everyone.
Okay, then just before you go, I'm just going to make one I'm pretty sure I know the answer because I see nobody else. Actually, I can just tell online here. There was nobody else here wanting to speak, so we're good. You're good to go, Councillor Braithwaite. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I'm trying to get out.
While you try to get out, I will just welcome Mr. Heyman from the Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission. And you're taking over, you're filling big shoes here this evening. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. Just by way of introduction, I'm Peter Heyman. I'm the brand new film commissioner in the South Island here as of 23 days, 10 hours, and 11 minutes. So good to meet you, Mayor Murdoch and councillors. Happy to be with you tonight. And I want to thank Oak Bay for your ongoing support over the years, because you've helped us grow the direct spend in the South Island. That's the money that ripples through the community from film and media production, from $6 million to $100 million in the last 10 years. So thank you so much for your support. 23 was another good year here. We had approximately 40 productions in play, titles like Guiding Emily, Aurora Tea Garden Mysteries, and lots of Hallmarks. And I do want to pass along that I was on the phone with the head of production from Hallmark a couple of days ago, and they pointed out how much they enjoy shooting in Vancouver, and specifically mentioned that Oak Bay was the perfect backdrop for a lot of their romance movies and rom-coms. So you're certainly on the Hallmark map, and they assured me that they'd be back for years to come. Now, what we do and how the funding is spent, well, our job is to attract productions to the CRD and then service them. And by servicing them, we provide lists of crew members. We provide lists of local businesses that can help in the production, everything from hotels, of course, rental cars, caterers, and the like. And we also maintain a huge catalog of filming locations, one of the most robust catalogs in the world. And Oak Bay is well represented in that catalog. Oak Bay is marketed to thousands of producers worldwide every year. Another aspect of what we do is training, outreach, and education. We help design courses at Camosun College. We attend career fairs. We attend community events such as career days at Oak Bay High. I was reminded of that when I was drinking my coffee this morning from my Oak Bay High mug. And in terms of benefits to Oak Bay, well, I've touched on local employment, certainly local business activity, revenue from permit fees. Film tourism is a big thing these days. So people travel from all over the world to come to places where stuff has been shot. And especially the Hallmark fans do that a lot. And the other thing I want to mention, and it's a personal goal of mine, is we want to have a mission to keep people on the island working in film and media. A lot of them leave to go to Vancouver or other parts of the world. I really want to keep them here and keep our talent local. We work on a very lean budget, and we depend on our municipal partners for continued funding, and we hope we can rely on you for your much appreciated support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heyman, and welcome to the role.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Heyman? I'm going to just pass one on. It's not really a question from Councillor Watson, but she raises the sort of the flags. Why is Oak Bay essentially being asked to pay more than municipalities of similar size across the region? I think you touched on some of that in terms of the number of amount of activity that happens here, but perhaps you could just explain how you get to that $10,000 number stayed the same for a few years now, just if you didn't know that. But perhaps you could just talk to the rationale for that round number.
Yeah, I can't speak to the history of it because I haven't been around that long. But in terms of what that number is compared to other municipalities, I mean, we certainly get more money from other municipalities. I can't really speak to the ratio of it. I wouldn't off the top of my head say that it's any more specifically compared to your per capita numbers, but I'd have to do some more research on that.
Yep. Okay. No, fair enough. And I appreciate you're in a position here of coming in fresh. So that always makes it difficult to answer historical questions. All right, back to members of council. Is there any other questions that we have? I just feel bad that you sat through this whole meeting for us not to have more tangential, more fulsome questions for you. But I think you're a well-known agency, so it's not like just surprises.
I didn't mean this to be dark, dramatic lighting. It just got dark outside while I was waiting. That's what happened.
Well, I think with that, I'll just express our appreciation. We know that number you cited from 6 to 100 million is a pretty spectacular shift in the region over the years that we've been engaged with the Film Commission, and so thank you for all the work that you will be doing since you're taking over now.
Well, thank you, Mayor Murdoch.
All right. I think so. Enjoy your evening, and with that, there's no other speakers either on my list or online. So I think we are essentially ready to wrap up this one item agenda. Staff, is there anything else that I guess we just need a motion in place here that the report be received as or any sort of formal visit, which is moved, and I see another hand seconded. Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. So we have received the report. We have talked to all of the grant and aid applicants. That concludes that portion, unless there's any other questions or anything else being raised by council. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just a request that there were a few of the numbers that we had on the sheet that was circulated that differed from some of the applications. So just a request that that be confirmed, that we get a new sheet with confirmed numbers in it, just so that we're all on the same page in examining this. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. Ms. Plouffe, since you're probably the person in the room here who's able to speak to process, I'll just flag the Maritime Museum ask as well. What they're asking in their form is different from what's on the spreadsheet, not by much, but just a little bit. So perhaps we can just go through and do a review just to make sure that all the asks in the spreadsheet align with the actual the latest forms from all of the applicants, and we can work off of that. Ms. Plouffe, I don't think there's any issue with that, is there?
No, Your Worship. We will get that corrected and sent out to council.
Great. And I appreciate some of that. It was just changes that have happened in the intervening time, but let's just get it right so we're all working off the same page. Anything else, Councillor Patterson? No. Councillor Green?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm, thank you. I just wanted to confirm the due date for the spreadsheet to be completed. My understanding originally that it was tomorrow. Is that correct? By the end of the business day, or just wanted to make sure that I was right about that. Thank you.
Ms. Plouffe?
Your Worship, I'm actually not sure what the due date for that was. Just quickly trying to look it up right now.
But while you're looking that up, maybe I'll go over to Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a question regarding questions that we might have for applicants that didn't present, and just perhaps some clarity on, it sounded like maybe one or maybe more than one applicant didn't find out about the presentation until closer to the time. And so I'm just wondering how we're going to find sort of equity in being able to ask those questions.
I would probably suggest, Councillor Smart, if you have specific questions, why don't we ask them here? And if there's sort of if they're important to make decisions, then we can just ask staff to reach out to the applicants and have those answers back in time for Monday's meeting. I'm assuming it's not like 40 of them. I'm assuming
no,
it's just
I just have a couple, I guess. Maybe actually just one particularly. So with regards to the Newcomb Singers application, so this is a project that has passed. So again, because it's an event that has already occurred, perhaps due to the late application, I'm just wondering how we deal with that application. Do we go out to that applicant to ask them to resubmit, or does it simply, yeah, I'm just wondering what the procedure is for that one particularly.
Sure, thank you. And I'm going to give that to Ms. Plouffe right now, just because in case there's a ready answer at hand. This is an awkward one because you're correct. The actual event has passed, and that's certainly not the intention of the granting process, is to do retroactive grants. Ms. Plouffe?
Your worship, could you please have that question repeated? I was just looking up for the due
Oh,
date
sure.
for the spreadsheet, so I wasn't 100% listening just then.
Yeah, well, have you found the date yet? No? We haven't had
So
success finding
the
the
question
date?
was
Okay,
just with regards
the question
to
was, yeah.
Newcomb Singers. The event has already occurred, and the event was funded through the Arts Commission. So in a sense, Oak Bay did already fund that application for $2,500 through the Arts Commission, but the event has already passed as well. So I was just wondering how we should follow up that particular application.
Your worship,
Maybe.
I'm going to defer that response to our CAO.
How kind of you. Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Your Worship. I probably don't have a more expansive response for you, but from what I understand, the event has passed. The applicant had also applied for funding through the CRD Arts Commission, which is an entity that the District of Oak Bay contributes towards. I think that's what Councillor Smart was referencing when she indicated we have already funded it in some way. It's entirely up to council if you want to consider that a missed opportunity, or if you want, you can direct staff to reach out to them and ask if the entirety of that request was related to that one event, or if perhaps there was an ongoing. Before I let you go, I will let you know that the time to submit the forms to Mr. Payne is on Monday, at any time Monday. The meeting is Monday evening, so perhaps earlier in the day is better. And a new spreadsheet will be out to you tomorrow afternoon.
So I think, I'm trying to think if there's a question there for the Newcomb Singers in terms of their ask. I think because they're a regional body that we're asking for specific funding for a specific event inside of Oak Bay, that we may have to ask them to ask if there's another event, a specific event happening in Oak Bay that they would like to ask for, and maybe resubmit a grant if that's the case. That'd be my personal recommendation in this case, because I think that as Ms. Plouffe pointed out, we could override our own policy here, but it's an odd situation to fund an event that's already happened and has been funded by other agencies that we also fund. So I'll leave that to council. I think that's a decision we could probably make on Monday, and but I think the ask back to the singers would be really to just ask if there's another event that they'd be interested in seeking a grant for. But Ms. Plouffe, I'll take your guidance on that.
Thank you, Your Worship. If that's council's desire, we can reach out and ask the applicant if there is another event being held in the municipality that they would like us to continue the application on that basis. And we'll do that as quickly as we can and get an email out to council in the morning.
Okay, and if there's no answer by Monday, I think we're just going to have to wear our Wisdom of Solomon hats and just decide what we want to do with it at the council table. I don't think there's much else we can do other than to kind of look at the facts and make a determination if we want to fund, and if so, how much at that point. Councillor Smart, was there any other questions you wanted to just raise here tonight?
No, thank you. I think that's the only one. And I just thought, since we were reaching out to another applicant for clarification, that it did seem appropriate to reach out to this one as well, in case we could hear back in time.
fully agree, and I appreciate you flagging it. I think those are important factors for us to know and to consider. So thank you. Any other items on this before I move off? Don't see any, so we don't usually have much in the way of new business at special meetings, but if there's anybody who has anything to raise here, you can do so. Seeing none, I'll go on to some motion to adjourn. Oh, Councillor Smart, is that the motion to adjourn, or is that a motion to enter new business?
It might be new business or related to what we were just talking about, but I wondered
Sure.
if I could find out what the is council going to be presented at some point with the applications that have annual funding, and is there kind of a quality control point every few years in which we reevaluate who we're funding annually versus with these grant applications, and is there sort of transparency to the community as to what those other things are, because I didn't see them listed in the report.
Sure, thank you. This may be a question for our incoming Director of Finance to sort of talk to. I see nodding there at the table from Ms. Williams. Is there it's a good question though, because I think we've intentionally moved some of the regular annual payments, and just for people who are watching clarification, we're talking about things like the Oak Bay Tea Party and the Oak Bay Volunteer Society, which really sort of fit outside the sort of annual granting stream and the intention of that. There's sort of an ongoing community partnership funding model. So yeah, perhaps to you, Ms. Williams, what do you think in terms, it's a good question to ask. We don't want to just let things sit in perpetuity without some sort of review process. How would this be moved back to discussion at the council table with the new director?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Council. If Council desires to have a presentation of sorts to come from those line items, those annual grants, a resolution to that effect would be in order, and that would certainly capture the intent of what Council's asking for the new Chief Financial Officer.
I guess I'm not sure there's a motion required here at this point. If there's just, I'm trying to turn my head around this one a little bit. Councillor Smart, I might hand this back to you, but I think what you're asking for is, that there be something, and actually I'm trying to remember now when we made this change, and because Mr. Payne isn't here, I can't ask him, but I can't remember what conditions we attached to some of those recurring payments, because obviously I think they had some mechanism by which we reviewed the amounts, because of course, likely they're going to ask for more over time, inflation being what it is. It doesn't go down, it goes up. But I don't remember what those conditions are. So I think it's probably more a question of bringing it back to the table at some point, just to understand what the rules are, and if we want to consider it, amending those in some way, shape, or form, and a process for adding or removing people from that list. So Ms. Williams, any suggestions there in terms of bringing that back?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. You just raised a very good point. Mr. Payne will be here on Monday night, and I can certainly give him a heads up that Council's interested in hearing the answer to that question, and he can be prepared to answer that on Monday, and that might narrow down the direction Council wants to go in.
Councillor Smart?
That sounds fine. I guess I'm just not having the history on it. I just wanted to know which exact things were under that list, and when they would potentially one day be brought back to council to review.
Thank you. I believe the list is those two at this point, is the Oak Bay Volunteers and Oak Bay Tea Party, but we can confirm that with Mr. Payne on Monday. Councillor Green?
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment. As you know, I have expressed concerns about this process before, about how we do this in isolation from one another, and I'm hoping that perhaps our new Director of Finance or CFO could possibly come up with some alternatives to the process that we're using right now, because I think it would help, certainly for newer councillors, it would help for us to have a group discussion about these issues. And I've said this before, it's not news. I find it really awkward to do it like this. So if there's any chance for comment or to have input into how we handle this next year, I would really appreciate that. I think there might be a better way of doing it. And those are my comments, and I really appreciate the time to make them. Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor Brady. Absolutely. If there's any mechanism we can use to improve, let's do that. Back to you, Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you. And perhaps I just need some clarity on the chart in the report under the analysis there. But when the second line item under grant category says ongoing, annual, and it has an amount of $92,900, and it says in the comment, additional SD 61 and South Island powwow. You mentioned the Oak Bay Volunteer Society has its own line item, but you mentioned that the Tea Party was potentially part of line item 2. Is that the only thing? So essentially that.
So Councillor Smart, can you tell me what you're referring to?
Yep.
Where you are right now looking at?
I'm on the first page of the report, the committee of the whole report for today. That
yeah, I'm just gonna go there.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, no
I'm
problem.
on the detailed one. So let me just go back to the front page of that in the report. Thanks. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so first page.
Yeah, so in the chart that's under the analysis, when the Volunteer Society is broken out, but the ongoing annual grant category has a line item amount from last year of $92,900 and is increased, I assume because of the two things in the comment box, but it's not clear to me what makes up the $92,900.
Fair enough, and I don't have a ready answer for that. So, I don't know if we have any staff here available that's able to answer that question.
Thank you, Worship. I'm not seeing Marilyn here, but either way, I think we can certainly get that breakdown for you for Monday evening.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Anything else, Councillor Smart?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Councillor Green, go ahead.
I'm moving a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll accept that motion. Is there a seconder?
Thank you.
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Thanks to staff. Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.
We'll see you all on Monday. Take care.